Hello! Local Marvel Rivals Pro, the Social Solipsist here, and I've decided to make a video because I hear some of you guys need some help getting your rank up in Marvel Rivals. Now, Marvel is very popular right now. Everybody wants to get your attention on how to rank up, and I guarantee that by the end of my tutorial here, that you will be ready to reach Celestial no problem, even beyond that. So let's get started immediately. We're gonna try and make this quick because you need to get back to grinding. So let's talk about the basic knowledge you need to play this game, or really any hero shooter, because this largely applies to any hero shooter. This is a game of rock, paper, scissors. This is a game of understanding your positioning, the balance between characters, the give and take between healing, absorbing damage, and dealing damage, and your entire team comp and how that needs to work together. This is also a game of objectives. This is not a deathmatch game, contrary to what a lot of people seem to think from their play. So pay attention to the objectives that are on your map and don't get distracted. If you're in a big fight way off the map, chasing somebody off somewhere, you're probably out of place. You need to understand the map, and you need to understand all the maps so that when you get into them, you're not surprised by them. You're not surprised by the avenues of attack your enemy is using, and you can use the avenues of attack that you have at your advantage to surprise them because they probably didn't see this tutorial. And you need to understand the characters that you are playing. Yes, characters, plural, not just one. Please come to this game knowing preferably at least one character of each of the three class types, and preferably more than one of at least one of the class types. Because if you can't flex, you're not going to be that useful to your team. So get in the training room and train some characters up. Now, you need to feel the rhythm of the game. And I know this sounds a little bit odd, but I'm sure you've seen before in your grind that if you just walk out into not you, because of course you're much better than all the other players. Lots of players will just walk out into the meat grinder because they died and now they're coming back and they're not paying attention to where the rest of their team is. So half of them are dead and they just walk out into the objective and immediately die because they have no support because they're not paying attention. So understand the rhythm of the game. There's always a push and pull, whether it's within a fight, whether it's within a match, whatever. Understand that when your opponent has their advantage, when you have your advantage, when you have the opportunity to push your advantage based on the abilities you've seen burned and things like that. All of these are important to make the best use of your advantages and to take advantage of the opponent's weaknesses. Just pay close attention because it's important. And this is a team game, so please remember to act like it. This is not a game of ego, neither is any other hero shooter. This is a team game, and if you don't pay attention to your team and what your team is doing and what your team needs, you might get your KDR up, but that doesn't matter because you still ranked down. So pay attention to your team, even if they're worse than you, because sometimes they need a little lift up too. And to wrap all this basics up, remember to stay adaptable in the game, whether that means switching to a different character because you're getting outranged, whether it's being less aggressive because you see the way that your opponents are pushing, whether it is just, taking a different angle of attack from the map that you're on because the enemy's really honed in on this one avenue, and if you just went around the side and hit them, they wouldn't know what hit them because they're not paying attention. So stay adaptable. You never know what opportunity you might have. So let's then get into what you need to do for the various classes, because this is really important. And if you don't know this already, well, here's your opportunity to learn, because these are the really technical high-end techniques that the absolute pros use. So if you are playing a healer, and in this case in Marvel Rivals language, that would be a strategist character. We're going to go over whole classes, not individual characters here. Your strengths as a healer are generally that you have healing ability. Obviously, that's incredibly important. And most most healers also come with some form of CC. Some of them come with also significant amounts of range or escape abilities, those sorts of things. Understand your strengths and what you need to do with them, but also understand your weaknesses. Your main weakness as a healer is that you are squishy. And so if you are out in front, if you are not being protected by people, if you don't know where the rest of your team is, you're going to get shot in 1 or 2, 3 hits, and you'll just then be gone and not be any help to your team. I'm going to tell you a secret. The healers are the most important characters in your team comp wise, regardless of what your team comp is. Without the healers, everything else falls apart. It can't happen. So I won't tell you how to do your team comp, but your healer is always kind of the most important. We'll get into why on the following pages as well. So, what is your role as the healer? Well, first and foremost, you need to babysit the tanks. We'll get to the tanks in a minute, but their main role is to get in the way and absorb damage. Mainly, they're going to absorb the damage that was aiming at you. So, you need to keep them alive, because if the tanks go down, they can't protect you, and then you're dead too. So babysit the tanks. Now, pretty much all of the healers have a good amount of range, so you need to understand the map very well and understand your angles of attack and protection, so you can keep yourself at range from your team, and even more so at range from your enemies, so that you're not in danger of just getting lit up without any protection from your team. This is really important. There's a lot of healers out there just standing in the way of imminent danger and thinking that somebody will come save them. It's not going to work that way. Your secondary use as the healer is probably going to be CC. Now, depends on the character, of course, but lots of healers have CC abilities, mostly for self-protection. This is usually sort of a panic button of some sort that's going to give you a way out of a harmful situation, or give you a little bit of edge to lock somebody down real quick, so that the people who need to come actually protect you and eliminate the scary people have an extra second to do so, because this is a pretty high damage, pretty low TTK kind of game, or it can be if you're not being healed yourself. Now, in addition to all that, this also means you need to protect yourself. Like I said, you're sort of the VIP, even though people may not want to admit that. You are there to keep everybody else alive, so you need to keep yourself alive first and foremost. Sometimes that means retreating, even if it means leaving somebody else to die. Not all the time. Sometimes you need to stick it out and just, let yourself go to give somebody else that extra push. But more often than not, you're going to be better served by backing up, hoping that your support teammates your other teammates are also backing up, and then living to fight another day, because pushing to death doesn't help anyone. It's a long walk back to the point, guys. Feel free to save yourself. And if you are getting a lot of pings, mostly from DPS, mostly from Spider-Man, I'm looking at you, Spider-Man mains, ignore the pings for healing. Just don't. You can see who's low on health. It's a big red thing on your screen. You can see all the health bars. It's really easy to see. You can even switch things in the settings to make it easier to see. So if people are pinging for health, just ignore them. They can either heal themselves or they can come to you, because your responsibility is not to go run after them to make line of sight. They need to make line of sight to you. You can't be everywhere at once. And here's a really, really, really advanced one. Reload carefully, because for most healers, you have a certain amount of healing you can do, and then you have to reload. And that pause, which can be a second or two, can be the difference between life and death for the characters that you are healing. So if you are just never preemptively reloading and just reloading whenever you run out of healing ability, you're probably not using it to your best advantage. So Remember to reload whenever you have a free moment, rather than waiting until you're just out. That's never the right time. All right, so now that we've dealt with the healers, what are the tanks supposed to do? Well, let's talk about their strengths and weaknesses. The strengths of the tanks, because they're supposed to be absorbing, or in this case the vanguards, they're supposed to be absorbing a lot of damage, is that they have large health pools. They're very good at absorbing a lot of health. They also often have abilities that give them an extra boost to their health, or an extra shield, or something on top that gives them damage mitigation for a certain amount of time, or for a certain amount of damage. And that lets them be even more resilient for weathering a storm temporarily. And third, tanks have CC, usually in some form of knock-up, lockdown, occasionally pushback, but something that keeps people either near them or far from them. And this is really important for things we'll get to in a minute. The weaknesses of the tank is they are slow, so it's hard to get out of the way if you are in trouble. And I didn't put this on, but they also tend to be big. This is an advantage in a lot of ways, but sometimes you're just a big target and you're gonna be everybody's gonna be shooting at you. So you need to know when to kind of get out of the way as well, because you're not gonna be fast getting out of the way. So what's your job as the Vanguard? Well, first and foremost, stay near the objective. Everybody is going to flock around you because you're very charismatic as the Vanguard. All of your teammates want your signature, and all of your haters on the other team want to see you fail. So be the most important person in the most important place, and that's on the point, so that all of your teammates can be there as well, and that you can absorb the damage that they're just too weak to take. Now, as we mentioned before, the healer is looking after you. So know where your healers are and look out for them. Because if they're just, if you're not protecting them from being taken out on the back line, you're not going to live much longer either. They're called your support for a reason, and it's because you can't really do that much to support yourself. Now, because you are the coolest guy on the team, put yourself in front of the team. You need the enemy team to know that you are a threat, that you have abilities that are going to lock them down, threaten them, make them unable to do what they want to do, make them unable to complete their task of beating you at your own game. So put yourself in front of the team. You're going to have to believe in the rest of your team, as with all the classes, that they're all going to do their job, which means if you throw yourself into the fray a little bit, that your healers are going to have your back, and that your DPS are going to take out the threats to you so that you're not having to tank quite so much. This is a team game after all. So get in the middle, put yourself in front of the team, and lock down your foes, because one of your biggest advantages is your ability to prevent all of the enemies from swarming around you. If you can lock down half the team, that's awesome, because all your DPS has to do is sit off to the side and pick them off, easy peasy. And last of all, no diving. No running next to the pool either, but no diving, because you're the tank. You're a little slow, and that's okay, because you're just the cool guy. So don't dive, don't chase. Your objective is to be in the most important place. All right, so now that we've talked about the tank, let's talk about the damage dealers. Some people call this DPS. I have pet peeves about that terminology, so I'm just going to call it damage. Marvel, meanwhile, calls it duelist. So, what are the duelists' strengths and weaknesses? Well, the strengths of the damage dealer are, well, first and foremost, their damage. You are the superheroes of the superheroes. I know this is a game about superheroes, but you're the ones who are dishing out the damage and making things happen. You're super, super, super edgy. and everybody can feel how edgy you are. So when you walk into a room, people should flee because they know that you are a threat. Now, in addition to that, you usually have the most ability on the field. Compared to the tanks and the healers as well, you have the most ability to get in and out of combat at your own whim, because you're just rocking it solo. You're just, you're a bad bitch who doesn't need no man. So, get in there and then get out. When the threat's too big, just walk away clean. And for a lot of the duelists as well, you have range. A lot of them do. And if you don't have range, you probably have extra mobility to make up for it. So use that range to your advantage. You can pick people off from afar and they don't even know where you are. So use that to your advantage so that you can, make the rest of your team's jobs easy. Can't take damage if there's no threats, right? But what are the weaknesses? Well, first of all, you're very squishy. Usually not much about the same health as one of the healers. So it's just as easy to pick you off. So know your mobility, know how to get in and out of combat. Don't overcommit to something. Stand at the edge and do your pickoffs and get in and out when you need to. And then, of course, there's just the ego. But that comes with just being the edgiest guy on the field. You got a big ego, and that's okay. But, keep it in check. So what's your job as a damage dealer or as a duelist? Well, first and foremost, contrary to popular belief, your first job is to protect your healers. Not get in front of them and throw yourself on the line, but identify who is attacking your healers, because they're keeping your tanks alive. If the healer dies, then the tank dies, and if the tank dies, there's nobody else to take the damage for you to pull aggro. And then they're just going to aggro on you, and I don't know. You've all seen those dungeon wipe videos from WoW. Oh God, I'm old. Anyway, no, I'm not old. I'm super cool. I'm a super cool, normal, young hip person. So protect your healers, because without them, everything's going to go to hell. Now, as long as your healers are okay, what's your main target? The enemy's healers, because the contrary is true. You can go fight the enemy tanks, but the enemy tanks are just going to get healed by the enemy healers, and then what do? Your damage isn't worth much because it's just been healed back. If you attack enemy damage, but they have equal mobility to you, they have equal ability to shoot back, you're kind of coming up with a draw, or maybe their healers are really on top of it, and since they don't have any threat against their tanks, they'll just heal their DPS, and then you're losing that battle. So attack the enemy healers. Now you're going to get a lot of resistance for this, but if you're quick and you're smart, you'll do it faster than the enemies do. So eliminate the enemy healers, and then their whole team will fall like dominoes. Now, after you eliminate the enemy healers, or if they're putting up so much resistance that you can't get to the enemy healers because they're, doing pretty well, remove the enemy damage. Now, why don't you attack the tank? Well, because the tank is going to be slow to die and fast to get healed. So eliminate the enemy damage. Then they can't attack you. They can't attack your healers. And, there's less people on the field. They get scared of you even more when there's less of them. So, kill them and then scare the rest of them off. And as part of all this, as the flip side of what we've been talking about with the other characters, don't get baited by the tanks. The tanks on the enemy team want you to come engage with them. They want you to shoot them because they're the last ones who are going to die, probably. They're going to have the most ability to lock you down and remove your damage threat and remove your mobility and remove your range, all of your advantages. They can do that pretty quick if you get too close and if you pay too much attention to them. And if you're paying attention to the tanks, well, the enemy DPS is also going to aim at you, and that makes the enemy damage job really easy if you're paying attention to their tanks instead. So let them pay attention to your tanks instead, and then flip it on their head. So don't get baited by the enemy tanks. Now, Again, as part of your mobility, you have the ability to get in and out of combat and in and out of these various avenues of attack on each map. These maps are built the way they are for a reason, and it's so that you have multiple opportunities, whether you're playing a really high mobility character or just somebody with a lot of range, to get angles on your opponents, to attack them from all sides. And if you and your other DPS are working in concert with each other and your tank is doing a great job of pulling everybody's attention, then they're not going to even notice you until you've, got one of their healers down and another one at half health, and then they're all scrambling to figure out what happened because your angles were just so good, because you're so cool and edgy. Just get off to the side. Don't stand in one big group. That's just asking to get CC'd and blown up and ulted and all these other things. And last, as part of taming your ego, don't expect constant healing. You are a duelist for a reason. You've got that mobility. You've got the most ability to get around to those healing spots, to prevent yourself from being hurt in the first place. And if you're getting shot a lot, well, why is that happening? They're paying a lot of attention to you for some reason. Maybe you need to, move around a little bit. Maybe you need to, make sure you're healing yourself, or maybe you just need to, get back closer to the healers for a little bit so that they can have the opportunity. They don't have to go hunt you down to heal you. Make sure they have line of sight on you if you actually really need heals and don't have any other opportunity. So don't expect the constant healing. Just enough. So, okay, you're already so good at this point because you've listened to all the techniques up to this point. So we're going to get some advanced techniques because these are the things that are really gonna push you past, like up into Celestial and beyond. So let's talk about a few of these. First and foremost, read your opponents. Every opponent and every opponent team has patterns to how they play. They're going to push and pull at certain rates. They're going to, they might be out of sync with each other. They might be in sync with each other. So know what they're doing, feel the way that they are pushing, whether it's in concert or not, and then take advantage of that. If you need to, back up, run away, whatever, this is all of these notes again are regardless of which class you're playing. That's just as good as that's better than standing your ground and taking a losing battle because they had your opponents had a more consistent, cohesive push than you did. So don't be afraid to, back up a little bit and feel, again, like I said at the beginning, feel the rhythm of how the game is going. You can play reactive. That's great. Take your initiative where you need to, but understand that the right time to take your initiative is when you understand your opponent and how they're taking their initiative. Now, this next one, again, mostly for DPS, but this is for everyone. Make sure you know the locations of all the healing points on any particular part of any map. This is for everybody because you never know when you're going to need some emergency healing, and maybe the healers are down, maybe they're out of position, maybe they've been getting pushed or whatever. Maybe you just need a little top up, or maybe you're playing a DPS and you're playing a dive character, and you need to be healing yourself anyway because otherwise you're not going to get healed. Make sure you know where those are. You can also use this to your advantage because all the healing points are shared with your opponents. Sometimes you just need to stand on one of them or near them, bait some damage, and then steal the healing away. Because while it's on cooldown, guess what? Your opponent can't take it. They can't heal themselves. So sometimes it makes sense just to, jump over to a healing point, grab their heal, and take it back so they can't use it for however long it takes. Now, part of, as I mentioned, making sure you know how to play multiple characters, not just one, not just only one class, is that you have the opportunity to counterplay. This is super important, and it's even more important in advanced play because, well, you never know who's going to get picked and banned. Maybe maybe you got an enemy team who's reading every player's match history and is checking who they play. So don't get countered like that, and understand what you may need to adapt to in the middle of the game. One of the most common things that I see is players not recognizing a disparity between their team's DPS and the opponent's DPS, and how they're utilizing things like distance to their advantage. The number of, in particular, Punisher characters sitting up on towers and things, or Hela, or, you know, a few others, just sniping people because they're going basically uncontested because nobody is ranging them down. Sometimes you got to switch characters to, you know, punish somebody for standing at odds with you that they thought they couldn't be contested. So go counterplay your opponents. Same goes for other classes as well. Less so the healers, but to certain, an almost equal extent, tanks. Some of the tanks have certain advantages and disadvantages, and sometimes you just need a little extra push of a certain kind, some extra CC, some extra shield, something like that, to counter a certain team comp. So be willing to switch and be willing to counterplay enemy characters, because most of them have pretty solid counters. Now, this is really, really advanced. Ping important things. Don't ping just because you need healing. That's probably not going to help anyone. The healers probably already know whether you need healing or not, and they've already decided whether or not to heal you. Use the ping for useful things like pointing out threats, or telling people to rally at a certain position, or alerting people that maybe you're out of position if you're still running back to the point. Maybe your tank's way out front and they don't know, they don't have the support. Give little information here and there. You don't need to be on voice chat. I've rarely seen it be useful. Use the pings to your advantage for useful things, and don't spam them, because nobody likes that. So don't ping unimportant things as well. And here's the super hyper advanced techniques. These are the last two that are going to get you from to the very, very top of the top in ranked. Make sure you take a break. If you've just playing for hours and hours and you haven't had food or water, or sat up straight, or stretched, or stared at something other than your screen for hours and hours, your technique is going to be getting worse and worse. I know it seems silly, and it seems like you're, you know, just the best gamer ever, and you couldn't possibly be hampered by your human body. But I promise you that if you take 30 seconds to stand up, turn around, stretch, and take a sip of water, that the next match will go better. It really will. And last but not least, last and arguably most, be nice. If you're angry, look inside yourself and find out why. Because nobody on your team or the enemy team, no matter how good or bad they may be, has earned the ability to manipulate your emotions like that, or has the ability to manipulate your emotions if you didn't already just hand it to them. So be nice to others, be nice to yourself, and understand that your emotions are under your own control and nobody else's. And if you're feeling bad, maybe stop for a bit. So, in conclusion, oh, look at that! You're now one above all. You're at the top, the absolute peak of Rivals. Look at that. You're the best gamer ever, and all because you watched this video. You can leave me money somewhere. I don't know. Just think hard enough. You're so psychologically powerful, you can probably just send it straight to my bank account. You're welcome. All right. Breaking character for a moment here. Thank you, if you've made it to the end of this video, for enduring this elaborate shitpost. This is me genuinely wanting to pass on some useful information that people apparently seem not to understand about how to play this game. I'm, watching people even up in Celestial and above not understand some of these basic tenets of how the game ought to be played and what will make people successful. So this is both a joke and not a joke. Send this to everybody who plays Rivals, because I can almost guarantee that shitpost or no, they will get something useful out of it. This totally doesn't come from any experiences of my own or any grumpiness of my own at people, just wishing people could, you know, play cohesively as a useful team and understand what their responsibilities were as a player. Yeah, none of that at all. This is purely altruistic, out of the bottom of my heart, wanting to everybody to be as incredibly high rank as I am. The irony seeping back in. Okay, anyway, thank you all for watching this silly video. I hope it was entertaining. I tried to make it fast and not spend an inordinate amount of time putting it together, but I hope it was fun. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.